Welcome to Writing for Business and the Professions. My name is Lauren Fedorko, and I will be your professor this semester. The purpose of this presentation is just to give you an overview of the course so you have a basic understanding of what to expect. Just to start, you'll have the freedom to choose a topic that you're interested in. Just make sure that it's a topic that poses a problem, because ultimately your paper will be researching ways in which you can address or fix that problem. We'll get into that later though. You will be sticking with this topic for the duration of the entire semester. So you want to make sure that one, it's an interesting topic and it's one that really is engaging to you and it's something that you care about. And two, that it warrants enough research to complete your project in a way that's thorough and credible. So this just means that whatever you're choosing, you want to make sure that research has been done on it and that you can find scholarly sources to back your argument. Sometimes when you choose something that's extremely recent or new, it's difficult to find research. So just something to be mindful of. There will be a ton of collaboration in our course. Collaboration in this course looks like the following: partner work, small group work, and you'll also be conferencing with me very frequently. Because of all of the partner work, it's mostly dealing with peer review. You will be getting a ton of feedback, which is super helpful when you start revising drafts that will eventually become your final paper. Just a warning, you will be doing a lot, and I mean a lot, of research. Normally, students will spend a ton of time outside of class hours on research because you need to make sure that you have proper sources. Sometimes this means meeting or chatting with a librarian, so just be mindful of that. It is a lot of work outside of class to make sure that you have the proper amount of research to go forth and write a really strong paper. We follow MLA formatting standards, and we'll go over that later. Your final paper for this class is 15 to 20 full pages. These are single-spaced pages. You are using 12-point font. You must include at least 10 sources, and in addition to the page count, the word count has to be at least 6,000 words. And just one last thing, for your source count, whatever your source count ends up being, at least 10, maybe it'll be 15, maybe it'll be 20, half of your sources have to be scholarly. So here's the breakdown of the course. There are 7 major assignments. So I'm just going to go over those with you. Participation doesn't really count as an assignment, but it is part of the grade breakdown. The job search assignment is actually 2 assignments in one. It's a resume as well as a cover letter. So those are your first 2. The third is the white paper. The 4th is an annotated bibliography. The 5th is a midterm. The 6th is an oral presentation. And the 7th is your final paper. And just know that everything you do, whether it's a discussion, working with a group member, peer editing, all of those things count towards your participation grade. So I think just from looking at all of those expectations and requirements, you understand that this will be a lot of work, but I want you to know that I will be there a great deal to guide you along the way. I have office hours, and I oftentimes will offer you tutorials and discussions of student papers and exemplars, and I will offer as much support and help as I can. We'll also have a library session that will help give you some idea of how you should be conducting your research, especially if that's something that you're not feeling super comfortable with. But please make sure that you're using my office hours as an opportunity for me to help you. All major assignments must be submitted to pass this course. Late assignments will not receive credit, or they will lose credit depending on the assignment. A major assignment will not be accepted unless all previous assignments have been submitted. That means if you fall behind or you forget one of our beginning assignments, I cannot accept a more recent assignment until that assignment from the beginning of a class was submitted. The final proposal must receive a passing grade to pass the course. Please make sure that you are not late. That means with assignments, if we were physically in class, that would just mean not showing up late. But because we are doing this asynchronously, you will be able to complete assignments on your own time. Just make sure that they are submitted in a timely fashion. Cell phones should not be tolerated. We will have a few occasional synchronous meetings, so just be mindful of that because they will be optional. But if you are coming to one, just make sure that you're following these rules. They'll be really helpful to have a conductive and useful synchronous meeting. Plagiarism can be a really massive issue. You want to make sure that you are citing all information that you use in your papers. You should be utilizing MLA formatting. You should have a works cited page in all of your documents that you're submitting, and you should as well cite parenthetically. We will talk more about plagiarism and how to cite properly, but it's just something to be mindful of. All of your papers will be submitted to turnitin.com automatically. You don't have to do anything. As long as you're submitting your paper to Canvas, it will be turned in using turnitin.com. So I will get a plagiarism report for everything you submit. I need you also to understand that the grading for this course is difficult. For all of your major assignments, I actually sit down with a director of the business and technical writing program, and we look at these papers together. They see what I graded your paper as, and they'll sort of go one of three ways. They'll say, I think you're being too easy. I think this needs to be a little bit lower. They'll say, oh, I totally agree with everything you're saying. Or they'll say, I think you're being a little bit too difficult. Let's raise the grade. But I need you to know that because it doesn't matter the teacher that you have. All professors have the same criteria and guidelines to ensure that grades are fair across the board. So I hope that that brings you comfort. If you have any questions, just email me and let me know. I'm not really available during the day because I do have a full-time job. But as soon as my workday ends, I can answer your emails. There is a chance that I may be able to get to an email during the day. But the reason I tell you this is just so you don't freak out if I'm not answering immediately. I also posted the syllabus, so please make sure that you've reviewed that as well. So next, I'm just going to go over chapter 1 of the Magrino textbook. It's recommended that you read this because it really is the foundation of our course, but I just wanted to talk about the 6 Ps with you. All right, so the 6 Ps, and you may want to take notes here. I really suggest doing that. I feel like when you take notes, it helps you retain information better. So there are 6 Ps. The first is the problem, and this all deals with the problem that you're choosing to research. So you have to make sure that you can identify what that problem is. The second P is the population. Who does this problem affect? The third is the paradigm. And paradigm is a fancy word for researched rationale. So it just means all of the research that you do, all of those sources that you find to back that your problem exists or to find different ways in which you can solve the problem. Your plan is the 4th P. What plans of action can you develop using the research that you've done on paradigms? Your patron is the person or organization who would be willing to fund this project. And the price is your estimated budget for fixing the problem that you pitch in your paper. So in order to start the project, you have to identify and choose a problem that you want to focus on. And normally what happens in this stage is you might feel the urge to come up with a plan without doing any research on the problem. But for the purpose of this class, you must simply stick with identifying the problem and quantifying it. So quantifying is a key term that I will use frequently in the course. And quantifying is basically offering proof that the problem exists. And you can do that in a lot of different ways. One way is identifying the population affected by the problem. Do we have stats on them? Can you provide info about how many people are impacted? And how do you know? So every time I say, how do you know? That means there should be some sort of citation. You just don't want to be talking about things from your experience. You need real citations to back the information that you are writing about. So going on to a paradigm in its most basic definition is a research-based rationale that answers the following 2 questions through research. How do you know that your plan will solve the problem? So that how should definitely be addressed through the different research articles that you include. Why try to solve the problem in this specific way rather than a number of other ways? You'll see once you start researching your problem, let's just say it's something like food insecurity at Rutgers, you'll see that there are a ton of ways to solve food insecurity. You have the idea of community gardens, of food banks, of having people volunteer to work at soup kitchens, education. So you obviously won't choose every single solution that you see, but you will have to choose a few and synthesize them. But you have to make sure that you're convincing in why you're choosing to solve it this way. So make sure you're showing us why it's the best possible way to solve it for your chosen population. So the bottom line is, as humans, we normally have a tendency to come up with our own solution to a problem. And when we do this, we oftentimes will not use research. We'll just base it off of experience and opinion. This is something that could cause you to not pass a proposal because you need to make sure that you've quantified the problem, that you have lots of research establishing that it exists, and then you need to find data and more research on other solutions that other places have done to a problem that's similar to yours. So if I'm focusing on food insecurity in New Brunswick, I might look into what places that are similar. So maybe an inner city area like Camden. What has Camden or Philadelphia done for food insecurity? What solutions have they had? How or why were their solutions successful? Did they have any struggles during, implementing one of these solutions? So that's the goal. Once you have all of your research on different solutions, you will be writing a plan of your own, but your plan should be research based. So all of your plan will be based off of the different models of success or theory that you have from your paradigm section when you're researching other places that have been successful, and you're trying to synthesize those different solutions into your own unique plan. And this would serve as your rationale, all of that research. You also need to figure out who would fund this whole proposal. You will be writing to one specific person, but you might start by looking at foundations and see what foundations care about the topic that you're writing about, or you might have a more specific idea about an individual human being who would be willing to back this. But you need to ask yourself a few questions. Why would this person or organization be interested in your proposal? Are they impacted by the problem? Do they care about it? Do they have the actual money? I know a lot of people try to choose professors, and a lot of times professors aren't going to have $300,000, $400,000 lying around to solve an issue. And you also want to show how your patron would benefit from partnering with you. Your price is something that will be very vague at first, but it will continuously evolve over the course of your semester once you have a clearer idea of your plan. You'll use research as a guide to help you develop your estimated cost, but I just want you to know too, you don't want your cost to be astronomical. You want it to be more reasonable. I always tell students your price should not be more than $1 million. So please just keep those things in mind. Thank you so much.